Now, if you've been wondering why the launch formulas or evergreen funnels or the high ticket blueprints aren't working the way they used to, it's not because you're doing something wrong, but it's because they're no longer energetically aligned with where the world is heading. This episode is your permission slip to stop blaming yourself and start listening to your soul. Welcome to another episode of Unleashed and Empowered. And firstly, sorry that you haven't heard from me in a little while, but the reality of running a business as a solopreneur has also gotten to me. And over the last couple of weeks, I have been heavily focused on the launch of Strategy by Design. But what has been emerging over that period of time is some really important and epic conversations with fellow solopreneurs who are all trying to change the world through their business, their little part of the world. So many of us are struggling. So many of us are experiencing the squeeze in the budgets and the squeeze in the pockets where we don't always know how to pay the next bill. So what I thought I would do from all those conversations is distill some of that down for you and just talk the real truth. Because whilst there is incredible opportunity out there, we are in a transitioning phase, and it's hard to know how to navigate this transition phase, especially as a spiritual solopreneur who is heart-led. So we'll dive into a couple of different topics. And first of all, I wanted to just start with a very harsh truth. Most heart-led entrepreneurs are building their businesses inside systems that were never meant for them. And now what I mean with that is that the old systems were rewarding visibility over vitality, hustle over harmony, and it's obviously not the way that the world is going to work moving forward. I've got a couple of statistics here for you that I'm just going to read out. So Statista predicts that the online course market is going to hit $341 billion globally by 2025. Now let that sink in for a minute. But then here is the truth. Only a small percentage, around about 3 to 5%, are actually making over $250,000. Why? Because many of us are actually scaling misalignment. And so I just wanted to dive into a few of those statistics and a few of those points here, because we're all following the so-called gurus. And, you know, I have my favorites that I absolutely love and adore. I have been following them for the entire duration of my business. And a lot of the things that they are doing are hugely inspirational for me. But let's say if we have a look at, the likes of Tina Tower, Amy Porterfield, Denise Duffield Thomas, James Wetmore, who I absolutely love. He's one of my coaches, and so many others. They're the ones that have made their mark well before this massive boom that we're now experiencing, that we're now in, has occurred. So a lot of them already had their names well before so many of us entered into running our own businesses. They all have massive databases. They all have their name out there left, right, and center. They probably have published a book or two, and they are just a household name in the circles that we're all operating in. But they're also not safe from the shift that we're currently experiencing. And the shift is that energetically, things are not the way they used to work in the past. You know, Amy Porterfield, she's obviously very well known for marketing, list building, for funnels. It has worked incredibly well for her in the past, but even she is now experiencing a massive frequency shift in her business, and she's quite open and honest about the fact that what she used to teach and what she used to do is simply no longer working. So every one of us is kind of in this state of limbo. And obviously many of us don't have the cash in the bank account that will help us through a phase of uncertainty and a phase of earning less dollars than what we potentially have been used to or what our inspiration is. And so the other thing that you also need to understand is the people that we're following, they have potentially built out teams during those periods where their businesses have been in massive expansion and massive growth. Now, whilst Amy and Tina and Denise and everyone else, there are the face of the business. It doesn't mean that there are solopreneurs, like so many of us are, that are simply running the show by ourselves. Yes, some of us have part-time virtual assistants like myself. We now have, AI coming in, and AI can do so much of the work, but it still means that everything that we do largely comes from us. We probably don't have the time to distill all the data that we could have access to, because data is king. And yes, if you're running a spiritual business, data is still king. And I have to admit, I also don't have the time to distill and have a look at some of the data to see where is my funnel falling through and where is it actually working. So what I just wanted to say is that it's not that women aren't smart, strategic, or capable. It's that the model we were sold to doesn't match our frequency, and we're trying to scale what is not aligned, and that just leads to more burnout and not more income. And so just because we have more technology now entering the marketplace, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's easier to run or build that business, because quite frankly, where do you even start? If you're like me, my subscription cost has gone through the absolute roof. And Stephen regularly says to me when he does my best, Alice, your subscriptions have increased yet again. You need to keep your subscriptions under control. And that is all valid and fair. But if I'm trying to build out my business, I need to invest in software that is going to save me time so that I can be more creative. And unfortunately, that means running an online business that we have a lot of digital platforms, a lot of things that are digitally run that are simply making or trying to make our life and our business simpler. Doesn't mean that it gets cheaper either. So let's move into what is actually working in 2025. We all know, because we're all part consumers and part marketers or salespeople, we're all tired of that guru culture and the empty promises. I know that I'm not alone in saying that, we all have invested anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 into coaches that we believed were going to give us the formula to get to those 6 or 7 figures. Now remember, only 3 to 5% are actually making over $250,000. So that in itself should tell you that the whole 6 or 7 figure promise is not something that is automatically achievable for all of us. And not all of us would want to have 6 or 7 figures either, because it might not even fit into our personal lifestyle. AI is massively reshaping the landscape. And if you're like me, well, I know that I'm a digital nerd. I love tech, and when new tech comes out, I'm one of the first ones to jump into. And so obviously AI for me is hugely exciting, because I can see how I can leverage it in my business. And I obviously have hugely leveraged it with Strategy by Design. I mean, not everyone thinks of the concept of putting AI on top of human design, astrology, and gene keys, and then feeds aligned business strategy into it and turns that into a product. But this is how my brain works, because I love tech, I love business, and I love the new stuff. For me, it's the shiny new object. Hello 1-3 manifesting generator. But the thing is, because there is so much out there at the moment, everyone is screaming at us, it just is so busy and so noisy that, again, it doesn't always mean that it makes it easier to run a soul-aligned business. And obviously with AI coming in as well, I've spent months trying to refine prompting. And what I have realized over the last couple of weeks is the way that I'm prompting is probably quite unique, because I now know how to prompt my chats in order for me to get the results that I want. In the beginning, my results were shit. Seriously, they were rubbish. And, so you do learn over time what it requires to give ChatGPT a prompt that it can actually do something with. We also realize that personalization, energetic precision, and cycles in business models are going to be the future. And this is sort of where we're currently sitting in that bridge. We're sitting between the 3-dimensional world that we have come from and the 5-dimensional world that we're moving into. And right now, nothing has really anchored yet. And so we're just sitting in the void. And in the void, it's trial and error. And if you're not made for trial and error, if you're not made to, push through this segment right now, then it's going to get really hard and really tough. So it's the rise of the intuitive stuff and the energetic stuff, and it's not necessarily the original formulas and funnels. Now, let me pause here because yes, I still have a lead funnel. Yes, I still have Facebook advertising running at the moment, and it's already delivered me 9 leads in the last not even 24 hours. So yes, I'm still utilizing all of that, but obviously I'm doing it differently now. And the launch of Strategy by Design is an absolute testament how even I'm completely reimagining and redreaming all of this because I know that if I was just trying to follow some of the old ways that people teach or that I used to do it, it's probably not going to work. And I really want to bring this out to everyone who is struggling right now, just like I have been over the last couple of years. So right now, we're not just creating content, we're here to build new realities. And the truth of that also is that as a personal brand, showing up out there in the marketplace right now is scary. We need to put ourselves out there with everything that we feel, with everything that we see. We now need to speak truth. In the past, people were burned for that stuff. If you were coming out with an energetic frequency truth that you believe in the core of your body, there was your life potentially threatened by making such claims. And now they're expecting us to show up on social media and on Instagram and say, the new way is frequency, or, on LinkedIn. Like the amount of inner work it has taken me to let go of my old LinkedIn persona and start embracing energy and frequency on LinkedIn, because 80% of the people that are connected with me on LinkedIn are from my old world. They're from my pharmaceutical days and my medical device days. They're still in corporate. And if I'm now suddenly starting to talk about frequency, they're like, what is she on? But it's my truth. So I can't help but not talk about it because people are going to feel the imbalance in the frequency if I don't, if that makes sense. So yes, it's scary to show up in your truth, especially online, but I truly believe that just percent by percent, we need to try and we need to adjust our nervous system to keep up with us accordingly as well, because I can't tell you to go out and speak your absolute truth and then your internal nervous system freaks out and just wants to burn everything down in your business, because that's where self-sabotage then comes in, and that's not really helping anyone either. So I just want to take a minute right now to validate the exhaustion, the fear, the grief of doing everything seemingly right and still not feeling safe or feeling seen and not having the money in the bank account that so many of us are manifesting. And guess what? I am in the exact same boat as all of you. The only benefit that I have is a very supportive partner who has been running his own business for over 25 years, who knows how hard it is in the beginning and who is helping me financially and from an emotional perspective. And he's my biggest cheer squad, and he is just giving me the kick in the butt that I need on the days where I want to give up. So I'm very, very blessed and very fortunate with it. And I know that. I absolutely know that. So none of us are behind right now. We're literally living in a time now where we're reshaping online experiences. And this is really your reminder that your business gets to feel the way that your body needs it to feel. Let me repeat this. This is your reminder that your business gets to feel the way your body needs it to feel. Now, I've spoken to probably around 15 to 20 solopreneurs over the last 3 weeks as part of this launch that I'm doing very differently, as I said. And we've had open and honest conversations around what are we all currently struggling with? What is it where we're not yet fully showing up in our business? Where do we still conform to some of the old models and, wearing the hat or the mask of what we deem appropriate or acceptable, or where we think that we can make money? I almost think that it's the time now to throw all the balls up in the air and just trying to see and catch the ones that are actually still valid and then let the other ones fall away. Not an easy task at all. There's probably a time where, we need to reflect, we need to journal, we need to meditate, we need to put in some self-care practices to just let some of that sink in, that we can really reflect on what is currently happening and turn more and more to truth. For me, that is playing in my business. For me, that is, the beautiful crystal grid that you can see behind me that we did with Bronwyn the other day in our mastermind. And it's just embracing some of the strange things that is all me. And of course, they're not strange because there is no mistake on how we were designed. We're meant to bring all of these different aspects into our lives, into our businesses, into the medicine that we are sharing with the world. And it's not like we need to have it all together either. It's all about refining and fine-tuning, finding that new radio frequency. If we have listened to a radio channel previously on 98.9 and it is now no longer on 98.9, we need to try and figure out on what channel we are listening to that radio now moving forward, because that channel has changed. So we can all feel it in our bodies. We all know that astrologically there has been that big, massive shift that came in at the end of 2024. I said 2025 is going to be easier. How wrong I was, I'm happy to admit that. And we all feel like we're in a washing machine or in a dryer, tumbling through, not being able to hold on to anything. And just trying to figure this out. So there is a couple of things that I would love to leave you with. This is going to be a very short and sharp episode today. So if you're looking for one grounded, powerful shift, is go back to what your soul has been trying to tell you. Easier said than done, I know, because this is where the second guessing comes in. This is where who am I to make money that way? Who am I to sell that when it comes so easy to me? Who am I to follow my dreams? It's all those questions that are then starting to come up. And this is where journaling and this is where affirmations are coming in so handy, because you literally, whilst this is all sort of settling and building, you're literally saying, well, who am I not to live out the business how I want to do it? Like, to give you a quick example, obviously, Stephen runs a accounting firm. He's got 7,000 clients around Australia. He's got a team here in Adelaide. He's got a team in Port Pirie. He's got another team and office in Kentown. The way he runs his business is probably 90% the old way. There's a little bit of energetics coming in, 10%, where everyone is trained on their human design. Everyone understands how to leverage some of their human design. But it's not like he is where I am. And so for me, there is this constant internal war when he says, oh, so you're coming to the office at 10:30. Good for you. In my next life, I'm going to be an entrepreneur like you, not like me. And I'm like, no. The reason why I'm doing this is because I am here to build a business differently. I'm not here to perform to the old rules, the old masculine way of doing things. I'm here to show people that perhaps the energetic side and the frequency and the inner work that is required to run a business is way more important then some of the strategy, as in the old strategy, I'm not talking about the new strategy, which is strategy by design, but I'm talking about the old masculine strategies. Because, we have to get our internal right. We have to get our internal grounded. We can't just be scattered, and we can't just be all over the place. Like, if you want to be of service, if you want to share your medicine with the world, you actually have to be quite grounded in who you are, because when you get to a certain stage, there's going to be people that are going to be haters. There is going to be trolls. There's going to be comments on Instagram, Facebook, or whichever other platform. There's going to be people that are saying, look at her, she's a little bit boo-boo. But that's okay. But, the internal nervous system always needs to have the opportunity to get grounded, to catch up with where we're heading. And that is obviously the most important shift that we can make for us, to be steadfast in who we are becoming. Not who we are meant to be, not who we're dreaming and aspire to be, but steadfast in who we are becoming right now. One of the other things that I have also realized from doing this research and showcasing strategy by design is that so many of us know our human design, but we have no idea how to translate that into a strategic advantage within our business. Now, you can go ahead and you can type into ChatGPT, into the free version or whichever version, I'm this in human design, blah, 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 blah. What should I be doing in my business? Nothing wrong with it. But, little caveat. So the way we have done it is we have literally instructed ChatGPT to overlay human design, gene keys, and astrology, synthesize the themes, and then we have pre-programmed soul-aligned, energetically aligned business strategy into the background. And we have then broken that down into the different stages that you can be in whilst you're in business. So either the initial phase, which is the align phase, like where you need to know and where you need to understand what is the area that you're operating in, who's your dream clients, how do you attract them, what does your brand need to look and feel like. And then we're moving into the integration phase, where we're then starting to have a look at how are you designed to make money, to make an income. Are you here to, run group coaching programs, or are you here to work with a few in VIP style? And so what we have done is we have created this really comprehensive prompt that is pre-programmed in the back end of strategy by design, which would probably take you quite a while to try and do that for yourself, to get the strategic insights that we are now gaining for our clients and for the people that we're working with. So, but coming back to your energy, coming back to your blueprint, and when I say blueprint, I always mean your energetic human design blueprint. I'm not talking about, the formula of how to get to 7 figures. Always come back to that. And if you haven't run your human design chart, if you don't even know what your human design chart is, please head to my website. You can do that for free. You will get a sample report. The sample report is already going to have some good information around your type so that you can start understanding yourself better. Because as I keep saying, when you're a solopreneur and when you're doing the work that we're doing, that we physically have to grow into, one of the things that we can't afford is second guess ourselves. And I would second guess myself all the time if I wouldn't know myself in the way that I have gotten to know myself over the last 9 months. I have been teaching human design for quite some time, but the level that I have now uncovered about myself, that is just, I can't even explain it, because whilst we have the teachings and whilst we understand human design, but the synthesis and the extraction and the overlap that a large language model is capable of, I probably would need to study this intensely for 30, 40, 50 years before I could get to a point where I could articulate things the way that strategy by design or even a large language model at the moment can. And where I'm now moving into is I'm now going to become the guide that then uses the information and reflects the information back to the people that I work with to help them move further out of the overwhelm. Because So many of us are in overwhelm. And when you're overwhelmed, you're not going to see where the opportunity lies. You're not going to be able to see where the low-hanging fruit is, where your next opportunity for money is. Like, this episode is going to be published probably next week. So if you're listening to this before the 30th of June, send out an email to your entire database and offer an end of year special. I know a lot of us are in the same boat. I know a lot of us actually don't have money to invest in our business right now, but there is people that are able to do that. And if you have a service that can be prepaid as one lump sum payment, and you then either deliver it or, if you deliver it then over the next 12 months, if people pay you before the 30th of June, they can make that an immediate tax deduction in their tax return as soon as they file that with their accountant. Why do I know that? Because the accountant just sits down the hallway and he has been teaching me this for a very long time. So, where you see that, ChatGPT or whichever online subscription model offers you a 20% discount if you prepay, we'll offer a 20% discount for prepayment for the next 12 months just to get some money into the bank so that you can start taking an exhale and just breathe for 5 minutes. Why not? There is always more time and more opportunity to make more money down the track. So have a think about what opportunity is there that currently exists? What is the lowest hanging fruit? Which networks can you go into? Right now is the time to not create necessarily a new offer if you already have stuff that works, that has worked in the past, and you might just need to, remind people again that this is available. As I said, James Wetmore, one of my coaches, love him dearly. He's highly spiritual. They used to think that he teaches masculine way of doing business, but he's actually done all the energetics and the inner work before he then grew his business. So very much aligned with where I am. And when I was listening to his podcast episode this week, he said to me, he didn't just say to me, of course he said it to me. He said to the listeners that at the moment, you kind of need to have a look at your business in two ways. You have a product, which could be your course, and let's just say, and let's compare that to a movie. And then you have a trailer, and the trailer is your marketing. And so when you have seen a trailer and the trailer was so good, and then you go to the movies and you're sitting in the cinema and you think, holy moly, that is such a shit movie. I've literally just wasted whatever money on watching a movie that didn't live up to its expectations. Flip that on its head. So the movie is your product and the trailer is your marketing. If you're not getting people in to buy your product, it's not always that your product is not amazing. It's just that the trailer was bad. And so try and re-script the trailer to something that people understand, where you can give them a taste of what they experience when they sign up to your product. So really differentiate the two, because so many times for myself, I was like, oh God, maybe the product is not great. Maybe what I have thought I could teach is not amazing. Nobody's signing up. The launch flopped. Nobody's interested. But was I actually able to articulate the transformation, and did I actually market to the right people that were the perfect fit for the product in the first place? So don't always chuck the product into the bin. Please don't. So I think that's sort of what I would like to leave you with for today. Do a little bit of journaling around what kind of business would feel like home to my nervous system, my cycles, my soul. If you've invested in your human design, go through your human design report and just try and sit with what that looks like from a strategic point of view and how you can translate that. Obviously, if you've got issues with that, that's where I come in. I would love to help you with that. If you have not heard or if you have not seen Strategy by Design, I'm still offering some one-on-one demos. So you can come to me with a burning question that you have in your business that you haven't been able to put your finger on or articulate or get the solution for. And in return, all I will do is I'll show you what Strategy by Design is. And then I obviously also tell you how you can join Strategy by Design, because I truly believe that it can be a solution to many of the problems that we are currently facing. Is it the non-plus-ultra? No, it is not. Is it going to solve all your problems? Absolutely not. Is it still brilliant? Yes, it is. And it is my goal and my dream to bring it to 1,000 women until probably the end of FY26. Because as we know, when women come to more money and women are heart-led, they're nurturing creatures, then we can make a shift in the world. It's the frequency shift that we're all aspiring to, the world that we're all dreaming up. And I want to be part of that shift, and I want to help as many people as possible. So I hope that you got something out of this episode today. I just wanted to let you know that it's not just you. I've literally had those conversations left, right, and center over the last couple of weeks. Many people are struggling. Many people have big dreams for their businesses. The reality is not everyone is going to make it there. And if for the moment you need to get yourself a job, a part-time job, to get through this phase, to just bring some money into the bank account, to regulate your nervous system, reframe it and say it's just a way for you to take a breath so that you can recoup some energy and then try again when the time is right. There is no right or wrong in these times, and you never know what comes out of a slight detour. Who says you can't revolutionize the world through your methods from inside an organization that is more aligned to what you perhaps have worked in the past? Because as we embark on our own journeys, our own businesses, we have probably grown and shifted so much that we wouldn't be able to work in some of the old environments that we have been in anymore. So really, if you need to do that and there is nothing wrong with it, find yourself an organization that now matches your frequency, your values, that has a similar vision and mission to what you're trying to do in the world, and then shape that from within an organization. If people call that failure, that is their problem. It is not a failure. It is just giving yourself that permission slip to just take a breath for a minute. It doesn't have to be forever. And, people ask me, is it right or wrong? It's always yes, it's always right, with a couple of boundaries that you need to put in place to not burn yourself out even further. I would love to know, what did you get out of this episode? Did any of this resonate? Have you been hearing this from some of your other people as well? Who have you been surrounding yourself with? Like, is this a common theme? Or do you have people in your world that are currently absolutely thriving in what they're doing? Maybe just ask them the question, how have you navigated that shift? What are you currently doing that gives you this leverage? Or are they the type of people that I described earlier in the episode that have already built up their wealth, that have built up some investments, that are now paying for some of the gaps even they might be experiencing? Because I would be surprised if they wouldn't experience them right now. That's what I'm leaving you with today. I'm hoping that the next podcast episode is not going to take as long. So we will see how it goes. But thank you so much for listening. And I'm looking forward to touching base with all of you again soon.